Welcome. In this lesson, we're going to try to help us understand the concept of not only congruent statements, but also how to identify corresponding parts of congruent figures. Now, the first thing I want to mention or emphasize is what this symbol means that's in between the two angles. So if you see, it looks kind of like an equal sign with a squiggly line above it. That means congruent, or in other words, it's the same exact size and shape as the other one. So for instance, when it says angle, because remember that's an angle symbol, angle H is congruent to angle O, we want to know if they have the same measure. So we look up here at this figure to find angles H and O. Here's H right here. That angle is 143 degrees. So now we need to see if angle O is also 143 degrees. And we're going to be looking at the second image because that's where O is. O is over here, and angle O is 65. So those two are not congruent. And then we're just going to work our way through. Angle H, again, is 143. Angle N, O is 143. So again, this angle N is congruent to angle H. So I will click that one. Now be careful, it says, what are the corresponding parts of the figure below? Select all that apply. So I'm going to continue to look. Angle I, or sorry, not angle I. That's this with the little line segment above it means segment IH. So that's the side length. We're talking the length of side IH. So here's I, here's H. The length of this side is 31 kilometers. And then let's look at the length of side MN. So here's M, here's N, and the length of this side from M to M is also 31 kilometers. So those two are congruent. They're the same length. HG, HG, that's this from H to G is this side here. That length is 17, and length NO, N to length O, or side point O, N to O is also 17. So yes, that is also congruent. The only one that wasn't was the first one. And every problem in here is going to be very similar to this. Now it's going to, instead of asking which ones are congruent, it just says what are the corresponding parts. So again, you need to look at the image and match up corresponding angles now and corresponding sides. So they have to be in the same position with respect to the figure and the same measure. So is angle M congruent to angle T? So again, I look for angle M, which is right here. Is that congruent to angle T, which is right here? Yeah, those are the same angle measure. So yes, they are congruent, or they two correspond. Angle O to angle R. Angle O is right here. Angle R is right here. Yep, they correspond, or they're congruent. Side PO to side UR. Let's see, PO, that's this from here. P to O is 38 kilometers. And U to R is this side here, which also is in the same position, or 38 kilometers. So yes, that one is congruent. Angle N is this angle here, which is 143. Angle S is this angle here, which is 143. And so yes, those also correspond. Again, it's what we're trying to do is just get you familiar with looking for corresponding parts. Now in these images, what they're doing is they're not actually giving you the length, they're indicating which ones are congruent by tick marks and little arcs. So the side that has one tick mark on it is going to be congruent to the side that has one tick mark on it on the other triangle. The side with two tick marks is going to be congruent to the side that has two tick marks. The angles right, that has a one little teeny arc in it is going to be congruent to the angle that has one little teeny arc in it. The angle that has two arcs in it is going to be congruent to the angle that has two arcs in it, and so forth. So is L congruent to R, or does L correspond to R? Does this one here correspond to this one here? Absolutely not, because this has three little arcs and this does not. Does side LM, so I'm going from L to M, does that side, is it congruent to from Q to R? Well, they both have the one tick mark, so yes, they are congruent. Angle N has two tick marks up here, two tick marks. Is that congruent to angle S, which has two tick marks? Yes, or not tick marks, they're little arcs. How about angle M and R? So I look at angle M. M is right here with 1. Angle R is also 1. So yes, they are congruent. Again, I'm going to jump ahead. What are the corresponding parts of the figure below? Again, we're just looking for the same number of arc measures or the same number of length or arc, same arc, not arc measures, same number of little arcs inside the angle. So OR is a side though. O to R is the 41 kilometer. XW is also the 41, so they're congruent. Angle R is this one where 3 little, and angle W is 1 with 3, so they actually correspond. Those R and W correspond. O and X, angle O, angle X, yep, those correspond. Side RQ is this little teeny one. WV is that little teeny one. It also is, whoops. Oh, I forgot to click it. I didn't click it. I just hit submit. Got it. So just be careful you don't hit submit before you click them all. Ooh, I wanted to go back. So now what it's asking to do is asking you to type in. Now this is very important that when you type in congruencies, this little triangle here means the triangle K. So we started here and then we went to angle L. And then, so this was the first letter, this was the second letter, and then they used J. This is the third letter. We need to go in the same order when we type in the corresponding parts here. So what angle corresponded to K? Angle R. It's a 34-degree angle. So you need to type in R first, R. What corresponded to L, the second angle or the second letter they typed in? L is 34, that's this, oh, there's two 34, but they're the base of this isosceles triangle, so it's this 34, which is S, so S would be next. And then what's J correspond to? The 113, which is the top one, which is Q. And you notice I didn't do capitals, but it still works. So again, let's jump ahead and do another one of those. Oh, no, so they're still doing these where you're just matching up. All right, so now here they don't have the figure shown. So what's important to know is the letters are in a specific order, and that's why they're that way. So angle N, which is the last letter in this figure, corresponds to the last letter in the figure of the second one. So angle N and angle W would correspond, not N and U. ON means I'm doing from this O to this N. Does that correspond from V to W? It does. Those letters are in the same position. ON is here in the first figure. VW is exactly in the same position. It's the third and fourth letter, the third and fourth letter. That means they are congruent. NM is the last and then the first one. So I need to make sure I do the last. Ooh, V's not the last one. W is. That doesn't work. Okay, is this making sense? I'm hoping so. NO, so NO is, it's actually this one again, it's just the other direction, right? We're talking NO. Does that correspond to TW? No, they're not in the same position. O and N are the last two letters. I'm using the first and the last. They're not in the same position. So you need to make sure the letters are in the same position. Each letter represents a vertex, by the way. So you could technically, if you wanted to, draw two figures that look kind of congruent. They should be, because they're supposed to be congruent, and label them E, F, G, H, and K, L, M, N, and then match up. But H must match up with N. And lo and behold, that's what this first one does, congruent. G, which is the third one, must match up with the third one, which is M, and it does. G does not match up with N. That's the third one, and the first one does not match up to the fourth one. Side GF, so now I'm going to do a GF, that's these two here, so I better be using the middle two in the other one, LK, and it's not the middle two, it's LM. This one's LK, it's not, so I don't click it. And it doesn't look like it gets any more harder than that. I can't jump up ahead. So if you have any concerns or questions about how to do this, please make sure you ask.